Hey everyone, welcome back to a brand new episode where I'm interviewing some of our successful students. And today we have Paul. You are actually doing it together. However, she is right now busy with the dogs.
That's right. Me and my wife. I do have a wife. It's not an imaginary wife, but yeah, she's dealing with the dogs right now. So, like I say, if you hear any barkings or anything, apologies, but we'll be as quiet as we can.
Yeah, no, that should be fine. So, yeah, no imaginary girlfriend. You caught me off guard with that one. That was a funny start. But yeah, so what is the number one reason that you were like, hey, listen, why should I join one? Or like, what was the intent for you? Like, why you wanted to join and what did you do before?
Yeah, I mean, I've obviously followed you for probably a couple of years.
Oh, wow.
I did have a shorts channel,
Yeah.
and I've never done a long form. So I've been toying with that idea for some time, but just never, like a lot of people, you just procrastinate and, oh, well, I'll do it tomorrow and blah, blah, blah. And shorts was just burning me out. Although as successful as it is, it's like, no, there's a ceiling to that. And I wanted to understand long form and do an actual, start a business.
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff you were doing on, Twitter and that, I always found like highly valuable. I love the sort of no bullshit directness of some of the stuff you go to, and also the way you're trying to protect people from fake gurus and stuff like that. That's the sort of morals that I would appreciate. Um, so yeah, it was just a case of when do we start, and then spoke to my wife. There's a few months back where we were like, I enjoyed my job. I've had a very long and successful career in software engineering in the games industry. Still doing that now. Very well paid and very rewarding. But I want to do my own thing and found a new passion in doing this. The YouTube game, but not knowing the YouTube game, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So yeah, I spoke to my wife and we were like, we've got to just start something. And I always knew, as much as I follow the likes of yourself and, other circles of friends that you have doing the same stuff, I think in my mind, I just always knew it was always, if I was going to do it with anyone, it was always going to be with yourself, just because you're aligned with a lot of like principles and morals and stuff that I would probably agree with. So, yeah, we just decided, let's do this, let's make that call and see where it takes us. And yeah,
So where
it's a
did it
bit,
take you?
well, we got monetized after like basically our sixth video, which is unusual. Usually we were expecting like 30, 40 videos, and quite early on we were lucky enough and probably one of the fortunate ones that we were monetized. And we basically were, at one point we were close to hitting like £400 a day on our thingies. So yeah, we're kind of like in that, like it's all that peaks and troughs, isn't it? But we've yeah, it's kind of opened our eyes. We're enjoying it. It's hard work,
Yeah.
There's, yeah, and I think I've got a new addiction to YouTube and YouTube Studio and the analytics. So thanks for that one. I do find myself like waking up at 3 o'clock in the morning, looking at me stats,
Yeah.
unhealthy, but but no, it's been, for us, it's been a steep learning curve, but we've just kind of gone with the flow. Um, I and I know Susie would say the same. Yeah, we could have done this on our own, and it may have got us to where we are now, but it would have took so much longer
Yeah.
to get there. We would have wasted burned so much money, so much time and energy that that's even a question where you think, how long would we have lasted or waited to get there? We would have made so many more mistakes. There was one big issue which you're probably aware of that we had one of the previous weekends, which again, without your program, without the coaching, um, we may not have overcome so quickly, and it's resolved, and it's probably everyone's kind of worst or one of worst nightmares. So again, that would have probably not have gone the way it would have without your program and coach guidance. So um, there's a lot to gain from what we've done, that we know in hindsight if we didn't do it, it would have been much more of a struggle, much more time and costly. So yeah, we've enjoyed the process, still enjoying it. It has its stresses, it has its enjoyments, but like I say, we're in this for the long haul.
Yeah,
We see it as this is a business. We want to
it is.
scale. We want to grow. We want, there's still so much we don't understand, so much that we're still learning. But that's only what you're going to get with experience. And again, to
The
drum it in,
guidance.
the guidance,
Yeah.
the coaching, having someone that can mentor you, can help you understand certain things that you may not understand. Even the most simplest things that you think is like a stupid question is not a stupid question. It'll only be a stupid question if you never ask it. So,
Yeah.
um, yeah, just it it's been like kind of eye opening to us, as in how much we didn't know and how much we would never have known in the short period that we have.
Yeah,
So,
and I also wanna cut into that is that a few interesting things that you said is number one about a lot of the fake gurus.
yeah,
You see that happening more and more and more. You have a lot of the old drop shippers that now get one channel successful, or I even know some people that just buy one YouTube channel and say like, "Hey, this is my case study, and now I'm going to sell a course." But then
yeah,
you also see the actual success rate of these people, and then it's like 2 or 3% succeed, which is pretty much the same as, giving a blind person a gun and shooting at a circle. You give him 100 bullets, is probably one of them is going to hit.
yeah,
And that's pretty much what it comes down to. And for us, it's consistent. I always say, like, as long as people do like 10 out of 12 calls, they ask consistent questions. I seriously think 85% of people succeed with working with us. And yeah, there's a lot of people making videos on YouTube. Like everyone can do niche videos, but a lot of people also offer like done for you packages where they like create a channel, they send you the niches. But the problem with that is that the people, or in this case you wouldn't actually understand how you would find these niches. So you're still like ground zero whenever that channel dies. And I actually saw that happening with another coach, with one of the friends that traveled with us to Lombok, and she went from 0 to 20K with another coach. Amazing. But guess what? A year later, she's back at her 9 to 5, back in the Netherlands, because she doesn't know how to actually find these profitable niches. So you're
yeah,
back at ground zero again. Okay, cool. You made some money, you travel the world, and now you're back at the same old life. And if you knew how to do the niche research and how to grow to the next level, that's the most important part. And we're now also really focusing on people like that are a little bit more experienced and really starting to build up teams. Is also something that I'm actively working on. Like, what is the difference between going to 10,000 to 30,000? It's doing some more of the same. You still do the ideation you're saying, but eventually you need a researcher, a community person. You need like some sort of HR, someone who checks in with everything. You need an edit manager who's going to manage 4 editors. Like that is the way you go from like the basic stuff to like really the big numbers.
yeah,
And we also see that in our company, we're doing around 6 figures every single month right now, purely YouTube automation related. And then it's like, okay, how can we get from 6 figures actually to like 300,000 a month? And one of the great, I get this question quite a bit. It's like, why do I do coaching if my YouTube automation does so well? But the thing is that I learned so ridiculously much from my coaching business in regards to setting up the systems, working with people, having check-in forms, asking everyone for weekly updates. That's all pretty much an automated system for us where we get all the feedback, we understand what the niche does, and we see consistent results in that. We've doubled a channel from $200 a day. Right now, actually, yesterday did $540 a day. So it's like, okay, that's purely based on feedback that we got from our researcher. And then we now do niche research every single week for all our current channels and then also for new channels. So that now is also becoming like a full-time position where that person should do research 4 or 5 hours a day, finding us newer channels that we can work on. Also,
yeah.
sorry for the background notification. I don't know why it does that. I closed WhatsApp and Discord. It's really weird, but um, Yeah, so that's some tips that I have for the people watching. I got feedback in the last testimonial call as well that people wanted more like feedback on certain things. So one of the questions I do have for you is like, what is the success you see right now? Did you went from 0 to 400 pound days? Like how much are you making per month right now?
So on our first month, because this we're only in our like halfway through our second month. I mean, realistically, we've probably only been monetized for just about 6 weeks.
Yeah,
Um, so for October, um, we got monetized probably what around the 12th of October. I think we got about five or just shy of 6,000 for the month in pounds. So whatever that is in dollars. Um, Typical Brits, we just we only think about ourselves and our own currencies. We don't care about anyone else's. We let everyone else work that out for us. Um, this month, at the moment, we are currently at about 3,000. So um, we've slowed down a bit slightly, but I think that was due to an issue that we had. Uh, we were riding high. We had our biggest, day, and then something happened, and the momentum just dropped after that. It's been resolved, and the momentum's just starting to now come back.
yeah,
But we're still not where we were. We're kind of a bit like we're at a baseline, should we say? So at the moment, where we were getting probably like I'd say average 250 to 350 in that range per day. At the moment, because of the momentum we lost, we're probably around that 150, 200. But we're looking at ways, you know,
you
we,
recover
we
that.
had we had a few dud videos which everyone gets, and the beauty of that is that you learn if you don't have those sort of videos to go, what was wrong with it? Okay, could be a topic, could be the thumbnail, could be the packaging, could be just everything. So even that was we're just trying to learn. Well, not just us, yourself. Even to this day, you'll still have just something that you think's going to do well, and it just doesn't do. It just doesn't hit well with the audience. So, but we just had a few, and we're just starting to get momentum again in some of our videos. So, but yeah, at the moment we're about 3,000. We'll be projected probably to beat what we did last month. If we didn't have that little hiccup, we probably would have been on. I would have said, because we were probably like getting 350 to 400 for those few days. It would have been anything between like 8 and 10K for this month.
Yeah, not
So that for me is like it's phenomenal. It's unbelievable, like for this early, and that's nothing compared to what I've seen in the Discord with other students that are sharing some of the stories. And everyone's journey is different. Some take a bit longer. Some like us are fortunate to just get up and running from the ground. But yeah, I mean, some of the numbers that I've seen are ridiculous. Where it's like, can we have some of that, please? We would not say no to that. But again, it's that is just testament to the entire program, the coaches that you have, the courses, and probably even just the course alone. If you're not going to do the coaching, but that will only you'll still hit your say your questions. That'll get you so far. Um, for me, I would always, and I've said this before, and I'll say it after, and I'll continue saying it. That having a coach, having someone to mentor in anything in life, whether it's YouTube automation, health, personal well-being, anything, you should always look for someone that can give you guidance and mentor of you know any of the struggles, pain points, or just whatever your goals are in life. It goes a long, long way, and if you can do it, do it. It's as simple as that. So,
Yeah,
but
I
yeah,
also agree with that. I think I would say like the program is more do it yourself. So you get all of the guidance and all of the tips you need in order to get success. And there's definitely people getting success that way.
yeah,
However, you have like a lot less opportunities to ask questions. Like we reply Monday through Friday, and then normally I reply Saturday or Sundays, and sometimes also on the Tuesdays. But then it's like, okay, you can ask like as many questions as you want, or you can ask one or two questions during a groups call once a week where you
yeah,
can get the time from the coach. And then it's up to you, like, hey, how quickly do you want to grow? And also, of course, it depends on how much budget you have available. But once again, we see it a lot. We have one student who went from 0 to 20,000. He actually extended another 3 months, and he went from 20,000 to 60,000 a month. So like we see a lot more people now also extending consistently, and a lot more people getting 6 months or even 12 months of coaching now,
Yeah,
because they do see the understanding of the value, like being able to ask consistent questions. And even really funny, recently I also put it my team members, like my managers, also with the coaches, so they can also ask a bunch more questions. Well, I'm occupied, of course, sometimes running 3 companies at once. So sometimes I'm busy, but they still can get answers for someone who has a lot of experience, and just gives a different view to it. And of course, if you run across issues like you had yourself as well, like, okay, what is the resolution for this? I've never experienced this, and there's no videos about this on YouTube. Okay, what are you going to do then? Then you have to be able to ask the questions and be able to resolve such an issue. And that's, of course, something that we helped you with.
yeah.
Um, so, yeah, so right now you're doing, let's say, around £6,000 a month. If can I say that's confidently?
Yeah, yeah, that's probably, I would say that's probably where we'll get to this month. And I would suspect if momentum returns, it'll be higher again. So, but obviously, as more competition comes, it's just, it's
Yeah.
going to bring sort of,
But,
I don't want to say saturate, but it brings its own challenges in that way. But it's just about taking different angles, looking at different formats and structures. And again, they're things that we're still learning and trying to understand. We're still new, and that's where again coaching comes in. It helps you to understand. You can ask those questions, and like something you mentioned before, one about continuing. That's where we're coming. Like this week is our coming to the end of our coaching, and that's what we want to do. We want to continue. We're in the process now of scaling up to our second, potentially even third channel. We may be doing one or two more
yeah.
channels this week. We've just done some niche research,
Right.
and we would love to continue to go. And that's testimony in its own
Yeah.
right. That like, look, we are still new. We are still what like you would say wet behind the ear, and we don't want to go into scaling up without the problems that brings, without maybe having a coach or a mentor to help us do that, and to understand some of the pitfalls and how to manage stuff. So we would like to continue. It's probably something we need to follow up with, because I don't know what the um, capacity is like with your coaching this time round. So, but it's definitely, like I say, it's testimony to itself that this works. As long as you've got the right attitude, the right mentality, you work hard, you do ask those questions, you put the effort in, and you learn, you're willing to learn, you're open minded, then you'll succeed. If you go in it half-assed, I mean, me and my wife are full time. We were like going into early hours in the morning. I stayed up till 5 o'clock in the morning just to put a video out. I knew I'd missed it by 5, 6 hours, being in the sleeping channel. But for me, it was like, fuck it, I don't care. I want it's going in. I'm not waiting for the next night. I just want it to be done and dusted, and then start again. Like so, but that's dedication, and I'm not saying that that's the right way to do it, but that's how much involved we were to make this work. And sometimes you're going to have to, you know, do that. Especially, it is hard if you've got a family, if you work full time. But if you want something to grow, you've got to put the time and effort in. It may be slower. You do it at your own pace. That's fine, but just do what you
Well,
can.
you can also see this fuel, right? You got a family, you want to take better care of them, then work harder. Like, what is the future that you want for your children? What is the future you want for yourself? What's the future you want for your family? For me, it's all fuel. Like, there's like a really funny example is that my parents say, like, hey, Wanda, why do you do coaching if you can make so much from YouTube, and your life could be a lot easier if you quit? And I'm like, yes, but the thing is, number one, it gives me fulfillment. Number two, it gives me joy. stupid Zoom. And number and number three, it's like it also teaches me a lot, and it also teaches me a lot about life, and that's what I really like. And it feels like this is my purpose. My purpose is to help other people become successful or at least achieve something. But I'm always really honest, and also with the content that I put out on Twitter, but also on YouTube, that if you think you can get away with this with 30 minutes to an hour per day of work in the beginning, the answer is no, absolutely not. Like we ask you minimum 1 to 2 hours per day, preferably even more if you can. Why? Because you can do more consistent niche research. You can look at more like of your competitors. You can start maybe not one channel, but two or three or four. Like some of the AI people, they start 10 plus channels in a 3 month frame. So it's like, okay, for AI, if you have a team, you have a freelancer, and you understand the SOPs, and also, like I always say, it's like we try and provide you pretty much all of the documents that I use myself as well. It's all in there,
Yeah,
which also gives a huge.
which we make use of,
Yeah.
and we've tailored it to ours. So and it is without that you would it definitely you'd all run a bit blind, and it does remove a lot of um, the bullshit time that you have to deal with. When you've got a stop in place, it makes life and the process much more, I say, easier. It's still nothing's ever easy. If it was easy, we'd all be doing it, but it does make that process a lot more
So it's a
easier. And
huge time saver. I think that might be the right word to use.
exactly, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So, but no, it is, and it probably is important to note that you do provide a lot of the documentation, even on the course, and that you provide a lot of value. And yeah, someone if without the coaching, they may have to go out and still do that themselves. But you give them enough tools to help them, or guide them in the right direction. Maybe, like I say, the coaching just kind of brings that time frame that it may take them to a much
Oh, but it's
like
also always what I say. I can be very honest and transparent in it. Like people can get success on their own. I'm not going to say that it's not possible. There is, I'd say 80% of the information that you need is pretty much on YouTube. Same with I say, like 90% of my knowledge I give away for free because I don't care. It's a 10% and that time frame that's going to save you and the money that's going to save you, what makes the coaching worth it?
yeah,
Why? Well, let's take a time frame. Let's say it would take you even a short amount of frame. Let's say it takes you 6 months to get results. 6 months is 180 days pretty much. Then let's say each video costs you, let's say $50. I can just quickly pick my calculator here. So we have 180 days times $50 per video cost. Of course, AI is different, but you start more channels, so it comes down to the same calculation. That would be $9,000 in cost if you did 180 days yourself. That also means that one, you wasted 6 months because you could get the results maybe in 2 months. Like yourself, you got monetized after 6 videos, and immediately after that, you started doing well, and now you're doing pretty much in dollars, you're doing $8,000 a month. So
yeah,
you could have been at this position within 2 months, or
yeah,
you would have been just starting to monetize and get success in 180 days. Well, you
yeah,
save yourself 120 days of time. And at the end of the day, I know it sounds very guru-like and essence like time is everything. You miss 4 months, it's a waste. If
yeah,
you can do it quicker, like I also pay for a lot of coaches for the things that I find important. I had a very expensive body transformation that I did last year, in which I managed to get a six pack in literally 45 days, lost 12 and a half kilos, which is mind blowing. It's over 400 grams a day of weight loss. It's unheard of. And why does that happen? I literally paid one of the best trainers in the Netherlands to help me train with that. Well, people do the same with YouTube automation. They want to invest in the best people out there who are honest and transparent and actually got the success. And like normally for a coaching business, it's very normally to run around 60 or 70% profit margins. And I'm very publicly in that. I do not run at 60, 70% profit margins. I wish, because I would be way, way better off. My profit margins are very thin. Why? Well, I get really good coaches. All of our coaches make at least 10K a month. That's the minimum requirement that we have. And the average is around 300,000 a year. So about 30,000. And you can see that experience coming back into the results of the students. Like, hey, every single person understands exactly what they need to do and how to help you further. And if they don't understand, well, we're not a small company anymore. We're a pretty large size company. We're a seven-figure company. I'm pretty public about that. And it's like we invested in the systems where if even a coach doesn't understand the question, we have, of course, Menno, our head coach. And he
Yeah,
comes in and answers the question. And then if Menno doesn't understand it or something to do with copyright strikes, takedowns, or legality, then, I get added into the group chat and I answer the questions and I take care of it. And
yeah,
if it's like really necessary and urgent, like I even join by my personal number, hop on a call like this and try and resolve that issue so that people can continue getting results. And we saw that with another interview that I did. I did it in Dutch. I'm gonna do an English one with them soon as well. With Jeremy and Damien. They had 4 copyright strikes. And I told them, like, hey, listen, we can just get these away. These are all just threats. They don't make sense. And we got 4 out of 4 copyright strikes removed. We got the channel back. The channel went from 20,000 a month all the way back to zero, all the way back to up to 20,000. And they now
yeah,
started a second and a third niche in the same one. They got copyright strikes again. And now we started threatening them, saying, hey, listen, we are doing fair use. You are stubborn in our business. If you don't stop, we will actually press charges to you. And now they let us go. So sometimes you
yeah,
have to just put a little bit of fire on that oil and be like, hey,
yeah,
listen, you're going to listen as well, and we understand the law, and you are now pretty much blocking us from making a business, and you're going to pay for that. Which, like, we have the proof. If we do 20,000 a month, let's say 21,000 for the calculation, that's 700 a day. Every day that I'm not doing 700 because you copyright strike me, I will go ahead and claim in a lawsuit. So if that
yeah,
lawsuit takes 180 days, that's 180 days times 700. So then it's like I'm gonna get the money one way or another, and they were like, "Okay, never mind. You can use it." And I was like, "Okay, perfect." That's very important. Um, Also, I have one question for you, which is now that you achieve success and you're still in the coaching program, what was the number one thing that you learned during the coaching?
oh God, there's probably so much. I think for definitely on my part, the number one thing that I learned on the coaching itself was just that to sometimes just believe in yourself. Sometimes you have an idea that is good, and obviously a coach can tell you that. But I think even the coach has given you that confidence to go ahead and do things. If you've got like a certain idea, can help. Not every idea is going to be a good one. I suppose, I mean, I could probably ask my wife because she was totally like an absolute beginner. She'd never even, you know, done anything on YouTube. But I don't know. There's some. I mean, that might be even a bad one because that's just talking about myself. Um, but I think definitely the guidance for me, because again, I'll go back to the time and effort. Having someone that can reassure you of, even during your niche research, you've picked stuff you might think, oh, I don't know, and they'll go, these are really good, these maybe not so, or but the guidance of getting you from A to B in that shorter period of time for me is just like it's a no-brainer rather than like going from A, B, C to Z, and it takes like you said before, could take 6 months where a process takes 1 month. I want that time back. I want quality time. That's why I'm doing this. I want to be able to spend quality time with my wife. Have more time with the dogs. My wife's the same. Build a business together, scale that up, and enjoy life and the fruits that they loom.
Yeah, that's your
And
limit given.
time, yeah, is, you know what? I'm not like 20. I'm not in my 20s no more. And some of you guys obviously are, and you're fucking killing it. And I wish maybe, I did have that. I'm not also an old man, far from it. But time is more important. And if I want to reduce that time in doing what we're doing now to build that, company up, and scale up, same as with my wife, we have that same alignment. Then we want to do that in as short as time as possible. So that's been the number one thing for me, just getting time back to build something with good quality and not waste time, effort, cost, everything that goes with that. It's just been, lucky enough to do
That's
that.
really
Yeah.
good. It's also really good to have a partner that, of course, supports you in that. And it also helps. And once again, they can also have very good ideas and they can look at things from a different perspective and a different
Well,
view.
definitely.
Uh,
Yeah.
so they can be
I mean,
very,
that's what's happened, Warner. It's, I think her naivety has played a big part into this. She's had no fear with a lot of stuff. Even our thumbnails, she's no idea of psychology or anything, but she was doing most of our thumbnails. And I know yourself and a few of the coaches have complimented us on that. And yeah, that, like you say, just taking a different angle or approach to something without having a full understanding as to how YouTube may work or how formats may work, or it's definitely been good. Just Susie's definitely been, I would say, probably stronger than me in this process. I have a lot of biases already with what I know from YouTube. Sometimes that can be a bit of a chain to the ankle. Like, oh no, don't, or you second guess. I think she just goes straight ahead. Let's just, do that. Go through the bullshit. A bit like yourself. Go through the bullshit. Just go straight for it. Yeah.
Yeah, like the thing is, you always have to be honest, and you can try and say things friendly, but if something is shit, you might as well say that it's shit. Because if you're going to lie around it, you give false confidence. Number two, I always say, and that's always a question I ask as well, so like how direct can we be? And normally I say like one is being like, I'm gonna be super polite to you, and I'm gonna be like, okay, hey, listen, this thumbnail's wrong, and this and this and this, and if people say 10 out of 10, I'm like, okay, your thumbnail's dog shit. What the fuck did you do with this one? Like, why didn't you look? So I'm like low-key cursing at you. Well, why does it work? Because you're like, okay, hey, listen, if he's cursing at me, I definitely did something wrong. And it's like, of course, there's feedback including in that, like how you can improve it. Because that's at the end of the day is also very important. Um, so what I also wanted to ask you is what was the main problem that you faced and how did we resolve it for you? Because we kept talking about this problem that came up. Can you explain the problem? What happened and how did we resolve it?
Yeah. So, I mean, the problem we had was we got a strike on two of our thumbnails from probably one of the leading competitors in what we're in. It wasn't the thumbnails, were, well, one of them was definitely our own, one was similar. But what we did have was leverage, which was because they actually did steal our thumbnail the day before, a few weeks back on one of our highest performing videos. And our coach, and obviously yourself, you were aware of what was going on. Our coach basically said, you've got leverage, put the strike in on them, and then talk, communicate. And it's not in anyone's interest. It won't be in their interest. They had a translation channel as well that used the same thumbnail. But for us, obviously, it was the first time we dealt with this problem. So it felt like the world was caving in on us. It was that panic. The messages to the WhatsApp group, the coaching, and open for that instant reply. And it's like, I think while our world and our heads going crazy, you guys were, calm. It's like for you, it's like, you know, this is just normal shit. Here's how you deal with it, kind of thing. So,
Yeah, we're used to.
but yeah, our coach was like, here's what you need to do. It's bullshit what they're doing. In fact, he was highly annoyed. But he did. He just said, give us the guidance. We know we were going to do that, but we could have appealed. But the coach was saying, that could take 9, 10 days, and that's we could already see the momentum the following day from that big high to a big water drop fall just from one strike, which still baffles me because it's usually like two or more that would get you that way. And it baffled the coach. But like I say, we followed that guidance. We put the strikes in, and yeah, as soon as it was accepted, they were singing like a canary, reaching out. Have you done this? Has it been on the main channel? It hadn't hit the main channel yet, which is obviously where the money is. And we were like, we have put it in, and expect the same to happen with that because it's the same thumbnail. We would like to resolve this. We're very reasonable. We're very amicable. Basically, everything that the coach had said. So deep down, we were fucking seething.
Yeah.
But again, just you be professional, you be calm, and you try and resolve things amicably and reasonable, and try and even going forward get a better relationship so that, look, hey, if this happens in future, talk, reach out, and we'll resolve it. Don't do none of this stuff. And we've both agreed to do that going forward. So yeah, it's resolved. Thank the Lord
Yeah,
about
thanks,
that.
Lord.
You
Now we still got an income.
although the Lords in this case were the coaches, and yeah, it was just like I think our mind, and that's why we probably lost some momentum with our videos and topic choice was that we were so our minds were so focused on that it come away from what we should have still just been focusing on, which was just getting the videos out or just taking a step back while we were dealing with it and not letting other noise kind of getting our head like, oh, this video's done this while we're dealing with the issue at hand. But we now know what to do in future, which is a good thing. And yeah, it was just resolved, and now we're a bit more at peace. It was a lesson
Oh,
and also
hello. Okay, seems that Paul is lagging for a little bit. I'll take over pretty quickly for right now. So the main issue was the copyright strike that was given to Paul and Susie. We pretty much managed to go ahead and take care of that by, of course, helping them in the negotiation, in the communication, and in this case, the other, of course, also made mistakes. We're helping with that. Hi, Paul, are you back here? You seem to have disconnected for a little bit.
network bandwidth. So,
I can hear you now, but I can't see you. You're freezing still. Check, check. Okay, so Poly, disable the camera, and then you can enable it again, and it should be possible and visible. Not an issue at all. That's why we have video editing. Now the mic seems to be disconnected. Now it's connected but muted. I'll make sure to make a note for editing this part. Okay, you're back.
yeah, I don't know. We got low bandwidth for some reason. Just everything was just going crazy. Then it started panicking again.
Yeah. Yeah, no
So yeah,
worries. I was talking for a little bit as well, and I'll make sure the editor will cut that out. So pretty much in short, your copyright strike got resolved because Shal in this case helps you with your communication in resolving that copyright strike. And in this case, the good advantage that you had is that they also stole your content or your thumbnails on multiple occasions in which this was a very easy resolve. Actually, it comes down to a really nice quote, a quote that has helped me a lot in business, and that is from The Art of Sun of the Art of War, and then from Sun Tzu. And it's like you never win from a lose-lose situation. So there's no point in that because you can copyright strike me, I can copyright strike you. That doesn't get us anywhere. We can rather work together. You don't strike me, I don't strike you. We both make a living from this, and our channels don't die. Okay, now well that's a good solution, you know. Otherwise we would have no income right now. So
exactly.
it's very important to focus on that. I'm very happy we managed to resolve that problem for you. One last question I have for you is how do you see the next 12 months for you? Where would you like to be? Or like where are you at right now? So right now you're doing like £6,000, $8,000 every single month. Like where do you see yourself in 12 months from now and how do you plan on going there?
Yeah. So I mean, obviously, me and Susie, we want to be able to scale. Like at the moment, our first channel was in the AI sleep
Yeah.
niche. The next one will probably fall into that. We want to also go into the AI stories, but we want that natural progression to scale up to the point where we're doing, the classic cash cow.
Yeah.
But we want to understand, from that sort of the it's not even a bottom tier, it's still a great tier, but the sort of learning levels, should we say? Because classic cash cow is just a different kettle of fish.
Yeah.
It's much more. You need more budget, bigger team, everything like that. So we want a natural progression to get there, and that's how we want to do. Like I mentioned before, we're looking at our second and potentially third channel, starting potentially this week, or getting to be started this week in a different niche, and yeah, just scale up. And like I say, we would hope that we can continue our coaching for yourselves because, um, like I say, we've had massive success in the last 3 months, and definitely, going into scaling up brings its own challenges, and I don't think
Or
from
check
our perspective,
ability.
it's gonna, yeah,
There's it adds extra complication, and the number one problem when people skills, they lose focus on what's working.
exactly.
They still do niche research based on your own niche. You have to check that on a consistent basis, preferably every week. And then it's about hiring editors. And then pretty much per 4 or 5 editors, you want an edit manager that goes ahead and also is an editor, but maybe runs only one channel. And then the remainder of the time is being spent on checking the other work and the videos that have gone live and the feedback that we get from our audience as well. Once again, also for the sleep niche, you can ask your audience for what kind of content they would like to see. You can collect feedback, and that then goes into the chat, and based on that, you can get new topics. That's how I said earlier in the video, we went from one channel, also in the sleep niche, from $200 a day to $550 a day. Well, that's because we listened to our audience and we doubled down on what was working. And there's so many niches still in the sleep stuff that works. I would highly recommend you to not bother looking at classic YouTube automation until you make around 30,000 a month, which is very possible with the sleep niche. You just need to get 1 million views and you can spread that over 3 channels. So it comes down to 10,000 views per day per channel. So it's very little once you get the actual calculation done. And that can still be managed by one manager by one team. So that means that you have one manager who does the ideation, who does the weekly niche research and reports back on the channel. You have an edit manager with 4 editors underneath you, and they can, technically speaking, all run 2 channels, which means you have 8 channels that are being run all simultaneously. So yeah, if you do 8 channels, the calculation gets even little. To the point, like, yeah, it just makes financial sense to double down, double down, double down. Spin-off
Yeah,
channel, make a spin-off channel. You have a different time frame, you make a channel about a different time frame. And that's the way you normally scale. And eventually, of course, it gets more complicated. But if you want to do YouTube automation, that makes sense to do after that system is set up. You're doing 30,000, maybe even 60,000 a month. And now you're like, okay, I got this manager system now completely outsourced and done. Now let me focus on the traditional YouTube automation, or even like if you got more budget available, you could say I'm going to focus on like channels that I can also get brand deals. So I can build a real brand with a real exit value. So then, I don't know, maybe Fern is a good example, maybe a little bit too high quality. But let's say like Painter Explainer, like a very nice high quality channel that could be 350, $500 per video. And you just post once a week, but you post very evergreen videos. Eventually those channels start also doing 3,000 or 6,000 a month, but they make another 10 or 20,000 from just posting the brand deals. So it becomes sort of more like a worthwhile asset, like eventually that does 20,000 a month, but that one you could sell for maybe 20 months the income. Now you have an exit potential of like 400,000. Well, you do that once and you have no mortgage anymore, you have no debt anymore. You can buy your dream car, and that's just based on one YouTube channel you've done be able to scale up. So yeah, that's great.
yeah, yeah. I mean that's the goal. to
Yeah.
be to be to be there. That's going to probably take long. Like to your levels, it'll be
Can
a
go
long
pretty
time.
fast. There's people scaling there ridiculously fast. Look at Luca. Like I said, he went from 0 to 20, 20 to 60. I said as well, if he goes from 60 to 100 and 100 and above, then he's surpassed me. And I don't mind. We've had multiple students that surpass me, and I generally don't mind anymore. In the beginning, it was sort of more like an ego thing, and I wanted to make the most money. But then in 2024, I had a lot of channels taken down, and I dropped from doing like 250, 300,000 a month all the way back to zero, scaled it back up to 6 figures. So I do know I still have the ability to scale new channels. But I'm slowly but surely more becoming an investor. That's also how I like to look at myself. I rather make connections and eventually start building tools where I can be part of the ecosystem that enables YouTubers and creators like yourself to make more money, not just on YouTube, but maybe we can distribute it to Amazon. Maybe we can do it on Amazon Video or Bilbao in China, or like we now have a brand deal soon with Singaporean TV, where they're going to be using our content, and they pay $25 per 1,000 views for certain episodes. So we know that content works ridiculously well, and if that only gets 50,000 views per episode they send out times 25 for us, well, that's absolutely huge amount of money. That's more like that we make on our YouTube channel. So just by getting more connections, I can enable more creators, and then being part of that ecosystem
Yeah,
is the main goal here.
yeah. No, and it, it, it's definitely a smart move, one that you're doing, because, like you say, being part of any ecosystem is just the rewards. Obviously, it's risk, as in the risks are always there, but the rewards are so good.
100%.
And it probably shows also how you're evolving from where you've begun to where you are and where you're going. And where the likes of us, your students, will benefit
Yeah.
from that, and how you evolve. And that's how I see it. And I know me and Susie, we've we're glad, we're so happy with that we made the decision we did. And like I say, we would love to continue that with, through the program and continuing, to our next
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it is that allows us to evolve to where we want to be. But definitely, like, scaling up and understanding what we're in right now. AI, sleep, AI stories, becoming experts around that. And then, like you say, when we're at a level where we can start looking at classic cash cow, again, moving into that, it's a different ball game totally. And that's why, I'm not, I know my limitations, and that's why, again, the coaching, the program has come into play, and it's been, a massive, massive part to our success. And I know Shailen said, I know that you and Susie would have got there, definitely with the hard work and the effort and that you've put in. You're hard work, you've got there yourselves, but it would have taken much longer, and we totally agree. It would have been so much effort,
Yeah.
so much mistakes, so much stress, so much burnout and that. So yeah, like I say, anyone who is thinking or is unsure, my advice: do it. You won't regret it.
Thanks so
Do it.
much. I very much appreciate the kind words. And just to jump quickly on that, I'm very happy we managed to get Paul and Susie, of course, to $8,000 a month in the coaching. It hasn't even finished yet. These are literally results within 10 weeks' time, which shows you what is possible if, of course, you're willing to work hard, preferably put in more than 2 hours a day into research. You follow everything that we say, you ask consistent questions. If you do that and you're willing to work hard, you can get some amazing results. So, for anyone that's still watching till this point, I would highly advise you to go ahead and schedule a call with the link in the description. Then me and my team, we can go ahead and take care of you. Every situation, of course, different. We have people who get started who were working a 9 to 5, and it's the same as Paul, who was working in the gaming industry. But we also had a bunch of other people that already were experienced with businesses. And of course, we also have a bunch of students that are already making 10,000, 30,000, 50,000 a month. And we're helping them scale and build the right system so they don't burn out, that they can scale further. They understand the SOPs, they understand the infrastructure so that they can also go to 100,000 and even beyond that. I think we have had around 10 students or so that has surpassed around the six-figure a month mark. So we do get real results. I'll also leave a page down below with all of the testimonials that we have. It's a huge page. So also I want to, of course, thank you, Paul, and of course Susie as well for your hard work and being able to display your success. And one thing I always say, and I'll keep saying it because I actually wrote like a little marketing plan for Black Friday. I always say like the more money I can help you make, the more money I can make of you. So once again, thank you so much for your hard work, and I'm happy we got you the results. Is there any last message you would like to say for the people watching this video before I'll go ahead and close the call down?
No, I just want to like say again what I said. If you're someone that's just out on the fence at the moment, um, just just go and do it. If you can do it, do it. You won't regret it. You really won't.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Paul. I appreciate your time here. And then we'll stay in the call for a little bit. I'm just going to stop the recording. So for everyone watching, don't forget to subscribe, follow me on my socials. If you're having any doubts, you can see consistent experience. And also I'm sharing my own channels on my YouTube channel, on Twitter, on TikTok, on Instagram. So go ahead, drop me a follow. And yeah, if you have any questions, you can always shoot me a message and I'll try and get back to you as soon as possible. All right, perfect. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.